If Man United play as they did in that second half for the rest of the season, maybe they could get top four. A tale of two halves is the only way to describe Manchester United's 3-0 win away at Southampton. It started off with Southampton controlling most of the game. United's press was looking so flat. But the first place we're going to start with this, because there are three things that we learned from that game. The first place we're going to start is the lineup that Erik Ten Hag chose. Now, I wasn't angry at the lineup. I was happy with the back four. My main concern was the double pivot choice to start the game was Christian Eriksen and Kobbie Mainoo. Now, I think if we look back at the previous game, the Liverpool game, and how poorly Casemiro performed, it is quite evident that Ten Hag was going to sacrifice the defensive contributions of Casemiro for the sake of Eriksen's better ball-playing ability. I don't have an issue with that, but when you take that risk, what it means is that you are allowing your opposition many more chances to create and score chances. Right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to create more, and the likelihood of them scoring increases as well. And it was a brilliant start. Dalot was struggling at left back. He ended up conceding a penalty, which Cameron Archer then subsequently took, and Andre Onana saved. Andre Onana also had to make a save previously from the right wing, the young right winger for Southampton. I wasn't even aware of him before this game. And as we lost out on Casemiro's defensive contributions and Eriksen was starting in that lineup, it meant that we were more susceptible to chances being created by Southampton. And Dibbling started the game really, really bright, and I felt like he was bright throughout the first half and gave Dalot serious problems, which ended up with Dalot conceding the penalty that Cameron Archer subsequently took. And Andre Onana, a player who I have been backing since the second half of last season and have just backed the signing in general, with a huge save and before that had a big save from Dibbling as well. I feel like he had a really, really good performance in not too many moments. He wasn't called upon much after that penalty. Actually, I don't think Southampton had a shot on target after their penalty miss that they had. But Andre Onana really was the momentum swinger in the positive impact. Because as we know, last season in the Champions League, he was the momentum swinger in the negative impact for Manchester United. When United had control over games, his mistakes would cost United and win the rest of the team. In this case, in this game, his save meant that Man United went on to wake up and control more of the game. Obviously, the fact that it was a game of two halves, Man United have been victim of having differences in performance between the first and second half, even from last season as well. But usually in this season, what would happen is that United have a really good first half. Pressing would be really, really good, really front foot. The energy would be behind the team, and then the energy would fall off in the second half. In the first half of this game, Man United's press wasn't intense. There wasn't great intention in the press. I feel like there was a lack of effort, too lethargic in the play sometimes, and Kobbie Mainoo and Christian Eriksen aren't great front foot pressers. Like, both of them to require someone next to them to help out with defensive contributions, as good as Kobbie has been this season defensively. So that is a big issue for the team, and that was something that I noticed about the lineup. The front three was perfectly happy with. I think that should be our front three that starts, if fit, for the rest of the season. Joshua Zirkzee, I think, was brilliant in that game. He was just picking up really, really nice spaces and passing the ball and had a bit more confidence and swagger in his play. A couple nutmegs on players, finding Ahmad really, really well. Linked up with Rashford really, really well off one chance as well. His only issue is he's got to start putting the ball in the back of the net, because he had two gilt-edged chances, one in the first half and one right towards the end of the game. He should have scored both. But I feel like it wasn't bad finishes per se. It was maybe a bit of lack of conviction. Should be finishing those two chances, so hopefully he does do that in the games to come. I felt like Matthias de Ligt, who ended up winning the Man of the Match award, was rightly given that award. He was really solid defensively, enjoyed the physical battle. Yeah, I feel like Matthias de Ligt had a very, very good performance. Mazraoui once again. Dalot struggled in that first half, but in the second half, when you see the capabilities of players like Mazraoui and Diogo Dalot in that first phase, when they can pick up any position in the back three or sit in next to either Kobbie or Eriksen, whoever's receiving the ball, in that 3-2 build-up shape. You look at how malleable they are. They are so multifaceted as players that they can do any one of those 5 positions. So that was something I was really happy to see. Amad Diallo, I think I tweeted this out at the time, if he loses the ball 5 times, give the ball to him 6 times. It doesn't matter. He's that good of a player. Good things were only happening coming down that right-hand side. Not to take anything away from Rashford, who got his first goal of the season. And Rashford actually had a decent performance. He was a bit quiet in that first half, but in that second half was trying to take players on, had some shots. I feel like as soon as he simplifies his game, we're going to see a bit more of the old Rashford. And as I predicted in my first video, Joshua Zirkzee is going to bring a lot more out of Rashford because they had really nice interplay for one of the plays that they had. That Zirkzee, I think it was saved by Ramsdale just at the near post. But I think Rashford will be aided by the qualities and the attributes of those players in that front line around him. Other than that, there were some minor injury issues. I felt like Lisandro Martinez had a bit of a cramp situation, I think it was, or he was a bit of precaution. He didn't want to come off the pitch. De Ligt came off with a bit of a cramp. I don't think there's anything too serious. We did also get to see Ugarte play, and I like the look of Ugarte. He kept it simple, kept the ball simple, didn't lose the ball. I don't remember him losing the ball even once. It's tough to judge his ground covering at this point in time because I know his fitness level is not where it needs to be, but I really can't wait to see Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo play together in that midfield. I feel like their attributes and their profiles match up really, really well. So I can't wait to see that. My front line of Manchester United would be that same front line. Garnacho obviously came off the bench, impacted the game as he consistently does, with a lovely pass from Casemiro to Dalot with the cutback. Garnacho finished really emphatically. I think Garnacho's going to have a great season off the bench. I don't have an issue with him being off the bench. That's not a problem for me. But other than that, any other performances to note? Really, just I think Kobbie could have done a lot better. Probably his worst game of the season so far. And not just off the ball stuff, because when you're playing next to Eriksen, it's going to be very, very tough to cover that amount of ground. But even on the ball, a couple of mistakes. Probably his worst performance on the ball this season as well. But no major issues for Manchester United. Confident away second half performance, I'd say. They got the 3 points. They got 3 goals in. And Man United can move on. If I am judging Erik Ten Hag's performance in that Southampton game, it'd have to be a question of whether the lack of a press or the I feel like that press, I don't know if it's fitness levels or it's coaching levels. I don't know if he looked at the first, and this is when I say I refer to Ten Hag. I don't know if he looked at the first 2 games and thought, we pressed so intensely in that first half that our levels dropped off in the second half, so we should sit more in a mid-block. But if Manchester United in a mid-block with Eriksen and Kobbie Mainoo in the double pivot, it's asking for problems. Like, let's just be clear here. So if we are going to be a forward, front-footed, pressing team, is it because the profiles of someone like a Mason Mount or Ugarte is not in the team, so he doesn't feel he's confident to be pressing all out? I'd have to wait and see for his quotes after the game. But I needed to understand the logic behind why the press wasn't as intense as I've seen it in other games. Because Southampton have shown to be making mistakes out of the back. We saw them concede some goals because of mistakes that they were making at the back. So I felt it would have been really, it was a miss from Man United not to actually press them and be very, very front foot. If I look at the substitutions, Ten Hag is obviously, I feel like it's due to forced issues. There was a moment where Anthony thought he was going to come on. And then due to Matthijs de Ligt getting cramped up, Anthony was told to sit back down and Casemiro ended up coming on the pitch. But he does like changing centre halves. Obviously, he might have been forced at this time. At one point, we had Dalot, De Ligt, Maguire, and Johnny Evans at left back towards the end of the game. Thankfully, the game was in very, very strong control by that point. But that's a concern having as a backline at any point in a Premier League game in 2024. I like the fact that Rashford was subbed off for Garnacho. Not to slight Rashford, but I just feel as though Ahmad isn't given enough opportunity or minutes at times. So I was happy to see that Ahmad got the full 90. Joshua Zirkzee, again, really, really impressed with his performance. If he starts finding his shooting boots, I love the fact that there's a rotation between him and Rasmus Højlund. Højlund can be more of the bagsman, clinical finisher, be in the right areas and make the right nice runs, someone in the last line. When Zirkzee is someone that drops off and connects plays, the connective tissue of the team. So I love that we have those 2 profiles in the team. But moving forward with Man United, I need to just see a bit more of a consistent idea from minute 1. If the idea is being changed based on the opposition, then I don't have an issue with that. But when we are like certain intangibles that Man United should never be losing out on, the effort, making sure we don't look lethargic, not being a couple yards off, because that's what we look like off the press. The presses are just a couple yards off. But there are definitely some positive to take. Garnacho getting goals off the bench, the performances from some of the front players, Rashford getting a goal, Bruno's cross to De Ligt, De Ligt getting a goal as well, of course. A lovely little cross to De Ligt. It seems whenever Eriksen's on the pitch, Ahmad is dropped down from one of the set piece takers because Eriksen is so brilliant at taking set pieces himself. Yeah, overall, all in all, Onana can take a lot of positives. Lissandro can take a lot of positives, but we have to also keep in mind that Southampton are probably one of the teams that are up for relegation this season, so we can't take too much credit off that game. But Ten Hag, what I want to see from him in the next coming games is a consistency of style of play, which is what we've been asking for about 3 years. But I'm seeing whenever we create good chances, whenever we create chances, like the first Xerxes chance, I think our football is really, really good. Like when we play it from the first phase and then get it to someone like Eriksen who connects it to the front line, I feel our football is really fluid and really, really good. So I want to see more of that. But we can't also forget that we cannot sacrifice the defensive side of the game. Hopefully Ogate comes in and fixes that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. How do you feel that Man United did in that game? What do you think Man United's season is going to look like this season? And all the other good stuff. Let me know.